Welcome to part 3 of FROSTICA by Eric B., author of the Night Crusader series. I'm looking forward to Santa Claus coming to town, Lucas said. Santa Claus? A bewildered Janice asked. You bet, he said. And she said, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Lucas? And he said, 22. And she said, okay, you're 22 years old and you believe in Santa Claus? And he said, why? Am I too old? And then she said, on the contrary, Lucas, there's no such thing as being too old to believe in something or someone wonderful, but I am somewhat curious. And he said, of what? And she said, of how one surpasses the boundaries of childhood while maintaining such an ardent belief in such a mythical figure. And he said, well, Janice, can I be straight with you for a minute? And she said, please, by all means. And he said, okay, I want to share something with you that I wouldn't tell most people. People can be so quick to judgment. Then she said, well, you won't get any judgment here, Lucas. Tell me, what's on your mind? Then he said, okay, Lucas said as though he were setting up. Do you remember Actobot? And she said, And he said, oh, come on, you remember. The robot that could imitate any animated character? Then she said, sorry, Lucas, I'm older than you. That wasn't around when I was a kid. Then he said, okay, well, when I was 8 years old, that's what I wanted more than anything for Christmas. But I knew my parents couldn't afford it. So instead of asking them, I wrote a letter to Santa Claus. I hope and I prayed every day that Santa would bring it for me. And Janice? And she said, yes, Lucas. And he said, he did. And she said, Santa brought it for you? And he said, you bet he did. And she said, and you're absolutely sure your parents didn't get it for you? Then he said, Janice, I only mentioned Actobot in my letter to Santa. My parents never even knew about it. There's just no other explanation. Lucas paused for a brief moment with a facial expression that suggested his mind was troubled as he continued, it's just, oh man. Then she said, what's wrong? Then he said, a missed opportunity. That's what's wrong. I'm telling you, Janice, if I was able to talk to that night crusader who saved me, she could have helped me prove Santa Claus exists. Then she said, well, Lucas, from what you told me, it sounds like your mind was a little preoccupied to ask your superheroine if she could take you to Santa Claus. Then, then the two of them shared a laugh together as Lucas replied, yeah, good point. I mean, I was still shaken up at the time. I can't imagine me just then asking her for a trip to the Great White North. You think? Janice said as they laughed together some more. Still, Lucas contended, that doesn't make it any less of a missed opportunity, one that I'll never get again. Lucas had a somewhat saddened facial expression following these words, and Janice seemed mildly affected by them. Their lunch break concluded not long after this conversation, and once the two of them returned to work, they did not see each other until the end of the day. But Janice stayed bewildered for the remainder of the day in disbelief that Lucas actually believed in Santa Claus. As soon as Janice finished filing her reports for the day, she realized that 5:30 p.m. was only minutes away. She therefore made her way to Lucas's cubicle in order to collect his daily report and log so she could get to work on those the first thing the next morning. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for joining us for part 3 of Frostica by Eric B., author of the Night Crusader series.